What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Nexus Show, the fastest growing podcast in the multiverse. I'm your host, Devin,
I'm your host, Fahid.
and today we have our highly anticipated first guest, Samy. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good.
Samy, thank you so much for joining us. For those who don't know you, would you mind just introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. Firstly, so I'm Samy Luther, aka LutherFX. I'm a full-time trader, and
Nice. Thank you again for coming all the way from London. I know it's a long trip, but
it's a long trip.
made it finally, and we're super excited to have you. So
Likewise.
just to start off, just for the viewers, you want to go into your background, where you're from, your early life, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Leeds, in the UK, representing up north. So initially I'm a jeweler background, so not actually trading.
Okay.
So my father had his own jewelry business. So from a very young age, 8-9 years old, been in the jewelry industry. So
Okay.
whether it's making rings, necklaces, and so on, etc. I mean, that was my kind of profession. That's where I was. And soon after that, things transpired from the jewelry business into finance. So and then I transitioned from Leeds into London.
At what age?
Around 18 years old, I moved to
Okay.
London. Yep. So so I could say from maybe the age of 9, I've been in the jewelry business.
Dang.
Working away. So
What would you do specifically?
So for instance, started off maybe at 8-9 years old, starting to buff rings. So
Okay.
so a lot of customers and clients that come in, they try things on. So my starting stages were buffing rings. I couldn't do anything intense because it required a very articulate detail to what we're doing. Soon after that, I started to, slowly get into, melting the gold, or silver, platinum, whatever it may be, molding it into creating, my first thing I ever started to create was rings. So making rings by hand, stone setting and things like that. It was a bit of a process, but, through time, that's kind of my journey at a young age, what I was doing. So up until maybe I'd say, most of my teens, I'd say, in the jewelry industry. And it was something that I love. It's something I have as a passion, and it's a great hobby of mine. I still keep up to date with it as well, and I still do, for my personal clients that I do have. But it was something that was became a bit more of the backseat because it was not as, I would say, fruitful in the respect where it gives me enough of a routine on a day-to-day basis. Because within the jewelry business, I used to work within diamonds.
Okay.
So you can make a lot of money off of diamonds. So in that respect, it was maybe 5 to 10 clients in a year would be more than enough to create great income. So I mean, it's something that I had a lot of free time to work with. So because I do make bespoke jewelry. It was something else. It was feeling that happiness within me, but it was just not enough, if that makes sense.
You didn't have that passion yet.
Yeah, there was something that I just wanted to be doing every single day, because I used to also play football. I was very passionate about football. I was a semi-pro footballer.
Soccer for Americans.
Soccer for Americans. And at an early age, I injured my leg. I ripped my calf muscle, and I kind of knew.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
So I wanted to pursue that career, but that was at a point where I just realized that maybe it's not for me, and there was just a void in some essence to try and understand what it is actually I wanted to do, and I realized early on what I am doing is great and it can venture off into something great, but it didn't hold that major substance within me to get to where I wanted to be at the time. So I wanted something that would excel that and get me to the next stage, and that was getting into the finance industry in terms of whether it's stock trading, commodities. Being within the jewelry industry, I've always understood what's going on with gold, how the price action works when it comes to mining, so on, etc. And I've always traded gold from maybe a young age, like around 15, 16 years old. So I've always kind of been into
on-hand gold.
On-hand gold,
okay.
yeah. So physical trading. So with investments, knowing what it is. I mean, a lot of you probably don't know. You're fairly young back at the time, but I was also involved in the investing, with my family, in terms of the gold spike that reached in 2011. So I was a part of that. So it's always been something that's intrigued me. In terms of as well as, you know, selling you know, an asset of some sort. Like it's great to know that you can invest in something and it grows residually because of its value and supply and demand. So, you know, it's something that I enjoyed and was around. So it was something that I wanted to venture into a little bit more in depth and, you know, see if it's something that fits me.
That's
So,
like a unique segue, you know? I wouldn't think that your way into trading happened actually from like on-hand trading, you know? That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, no, I think that was a great point you mentioned. Now, you did say that obviously you started off with the jewelry business and you transitioned into finance.
Yeah.
So how would you describe that transition? Obviously, you were young, right? And I would still say you're young. So how was that like growing up with that, right? How would you describe that?
It was a great journey. I mean, for myself, I didn't have a lot of inspiration around me of those that are within that field. They were more in whether it's like mining and so on, etc., future stock holding. So it was something definitely challenging to actually find out how to get into it. I had a great trading portfolio. I mean, I was investing in gold, like I mentioned, from early on, 15 to 16 years old. Not on my own, through my brother's accounts, for instance. And at that point, it was something for me I wanted to, for instance, you know, get a little bit more knowledge on and see if I can do this at a much larger level, you know, and based on my portfolio of trading gold, trading commodities, you know, through some of my network that I knew, introduced me to the right people. And yeah, that's how I kind of got into institutional trading and, you know, pushing through that channel. And, you know, that was I'd say a short-lived journey, but it was a great experience for me to understand what kind of goes on on the institutional side within banks and so on, etc. And, you know, exposing myself to brand new products, you know, whether they're, you know, indexes, you know, stocks, so on, etc. Currencies and so on. You know, that kind of just opened my eyes up to be like, right, okay, wait, well, what I considered, you know, this investment cycle to be is completely different, but it was something that fascinated me at the time. Was like, it's fast paced, it's always moving, you know, and that's where I kind of was intrigued to be like, right, this is a channel and pathway I want to try, you know, venture out and see what it has in store for me. And, you know, that's kind of, it was a great journey for me because that's how I initially started to get into it. You know, based off my portfolio track record at the time. I mean, it wasn't no large track record, but it was a good enough track record with my win rate to allow me to get my foot through the door with the right people that I knew. And so, yeah, dude, I mean, I don't know if that answered your question, guys.
No,
yeah,
definitely does.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
It also definitely leads up into the next question I had for you, which is, so you were an institutional trader. Did you take that education and start your company, or how did you like fully think of like LutherFX as your brand and your company? What's that?
So I actually started working in a private entity for institutional trades within New York. So based at that level there, I didn't actually start my company. I was working for someone else. I started as a system broker, what they call essentially the T-boy, you know. But that at that point there was, you know, not enough for me. It's just being an assistant, seeing what it's like being in that environment, you know. And at that point, I as well as doing, you know, being an assistant, for instance, it was something that I had a passion for, and I knew what was going on and how things were being traded. I felt that, you know, I could do this and I could do it better. I could, you know, really make a change in what I'm doing and make a shit ton of money, essentially, you know. So that's something I did do, and I spoke to my peers, and I, you know, kind of challenged them to say, hey, look, I can do this. And they did. They put me on a, you know, a trial period, you know, after a bit of nagging. And at that point, you know, I proved myself, and I got my foot through the door, and I started trading at an institutional level. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, go back to the question maybe, and
it's a good segue though, just because you show that you have to have some sort of grit and perseverance, because if you didn't nag them, or if you didn't really try to like get what you want, you wouldn't be where you are today. So that just shows your character, you know? Yeah. But yeah, you know, good segue into the business, you know, like what's up with LutherFX, and yeah, so what's up with LutherFX?
So LutherFX is an educational platform. My purpose, sole goal, is to turn traders into complete beasts when it comes to trading. I mean, there's a lot of regurgitated information out there, you know, as you guys probably know. And it's to get the right information out there. There's a lot of traders that talk about institutional trading, or whether it's retail trading, you know, and it's basic information that's out there. It's just, you know, at the forefront. There's no depth to it, you know, in terms of what's actually happening. You know, like for instance with gold, like a lot of people trade it based on stock and supply and demand. There's a lot of things that factor into gold. For instance, like I specialize in gold, like understanding the mining process, you know, the costing, how much supply and demand is there actually, how much mining is being created each and every year.
Yeah.
You know, how much stock of physical gold is there in the world in compared to what's out there being sold. For instance, there's a lot of things that, you know, factor in, and there's a lot of things that people don't know, for instance, that I take into precaution when trading, because it gives me, as well as you know, analyzing a chart, for instance, you know, on a technical level where you're, you know, lining it up, using indicators and so on. You know, there's an economical outlook into that deeper depth where you can actually understand where price is going, in essence, to find out its direction before you look at anything. You know, and that's why I say one of my biggest things are, you know, people ask me what indicators do I use. I don't use any indicators in particular other than price action. You may be like, hey, well, price action is just price moving, but that's the biggest thing for me. Understanding where price is and, you know, where it's forecasted to go based on the actual product itself. Yeah. So in answer to your question, you know, what is LutherFX? We're an education platform out there. We do one-to-one training with individuals that want to, you know, expand their portfolio, whether they're a hedge fund or a wealth manager, or just
so all levels.
All levels. So whether they're just a retail trader, is to, you know, whether it's refining their strategies or taking them from the start to the top, you know, getting them, you know, the right education they need. And it's within that, it's not just giving a basic, you know, education to someone. We make the plan bespoke to you. So we get to learn about you, for instance, not just, you want this course and this is what you want to learn, like great, but then we'll diagnose you as an individual, get to learn about you, you know, break down your personality and so on, and see what works for you, and, you know, bespokely make. So you may now, like for instance, being a retail trader, you may be a scalper, you may be a swing trader, for instance. So what we do is look to break down, see what you actually are, and give you the right trading according to you, what it is you want to learn and where you want to go in your career. And we look to get you on the right path and right channel and push you in the right direction, you know?
Yeah. I think that's really cool, just because you're not targeting one type of trader, like you said, scalping or swing trading. It's really all encompassing, which I really like. Yeah. And I also like that you hit on that point before on, you don't just teach the overall concepts, you teach why those concepts work, or in the sense that you can't just like know a system without knowing why it works, you know? Yeah. You could say, oh, okay, I know like you said, supply and demand, but why does that work? You need to know the fundamental theories, kind of, you know what I'm saying? So I like that you did that. You know, I could just say, like, me and Rohit, just learning past those concepts and actually getting the full in-depth, like not tutorial, but, you know, like lessons, that was pretty helpful, you know? So I like that, you know?
Yeah. And I think also just, you know, maybe to segue back a little bit, now obviously you've been in this industry for a few years. So this is something that you've been doing for a while. This is something you gained a lot of experience through.
8 years to be exact,
right? Yeah, and so you've had ups, you've had downs, and again, that transitions into your business, I'm going to assume, right? Because now you've had the experience, you know what some of these people haven't even gone through yet. And so how would you say that this applies to your company and what you're offering to people? Your experience that you've had and you know, getting into the field of Forex, how are you able to implement that into your company?
Yeah, so I suppose I'll go in and touch on a few topics. You know, coming from that institutional realm and coming into the retail side of things, you know, my journey from that transition wasn't actually easy. You know, it's very different in respect to, you know, the type of products and instruments we'd be trading as opposed to what's available to traders in the retail markets, for instance, you know. So that was a difficult transition because we'd be trading on a lot larger time frame and a larger scale, as opposed to dropping the time frames down and trading on a lower scale, for instance. And that transition was I wouldn't say slightly, I'd say very difficult, actually. You know, my starting stages, like, because starting to understand the products that were in, for instance, retail trading, it was different to what I was doing. And, you know, fundamentally things are somewhat the same, but it's breaking it down to a shorter level, and it was a transition. And that was difficult for me because, you know, I wasn't as profitable as I thought I'd be. You know, I came into retail markets thinking I'm some like top G. Do you know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm the guy. You know, but I was soon shut down from that because it wasn't as easy. You know, but what made it easier for me, for instance, was, you know, utilizing the institutional knowledge I had with the retail knowledge and combining and creating my own strategies. And, you know, that's what, you know, led me on my pathway to being successful, for instance. And, you know, what I would say, there's a lot of, like I said, traders out there that are you know, you could see now the Lambos, the whatever, the however, right? It's a great thing, and it's real. It is out there, you know. But a lot of people don't show the journey of how
exactly
it
they got
was.
there.
Yeah, you know, and that's something we at LutherFX, you know, like to, you know, focus on, because it's not about the wealth. Once you know, have a larger portfolio, things become easier to manage. You know, I don't say that exactly as it's just easy. You know, it's difficult, but it's, you know, it's a lot easier than it is starting off. You know, and that's what we like to focus on, where, you know, that journey to where, for instance, I am now, you know, it didn't just become like this. There was a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that went into this type of stuff. You know, I mean, a lot of traders ask me, oh, what did you do? How did you analyze the markets? I mean, I spent 4 months in a basement, you know, back testing, you know, from one of my mentors. I did have a mentor as well. You know, I was back testing the markets, like, and I did not leave that room. And it was something that at the time when I was told to do this, I did not understand. Like, I understood, grasped, and found some sort of correlations with, like, whether it's economic events, technical patterns, so on, etc. But it was something that, like, now I understand, and I can, like, whether it's rephase any moment, pinpoint in the market, and what happened, when, how, and so on, etc. So, you know, it's getting down to the nitty gritty of that journey of mine. And, you know, that journey of mine, I'd like to think that in correlation, most people's journeys are parallel when it comes to trading. You know, it may not be the exact thing, but it's very similar. And it's getting you to, you know, giving you that push from the bottom to understand. Because, you know, when you're at the bottom and you're seeing, you know, these traders out there with the Lambos and so on, etc., they did something through that journey to get there. You know, some of them maybe started to market, the businesses did well, you know, and, you know, off that money they fed and grew bigger. And some of them genuinely did become, you know, fairly profitable on the markets. And it's, you know, how did that happen? You know, you can't just get to it. It doesn't come overnight. For those, I mean, you guys have all probably heard the one-hit wonder stories where someone's put a trade on and, you know, they've made millions overnight. That's fantastic, but how do you sustain that? You know, and that's a journey in itself. I mean, at the start of my journey, Rohit, you know, as well, like, I've made some really big wins, you know, but it's great to come and show you, but how do I sustain those? And that's kind of what we focus on, you know, the detail of that journey of what kind of foundation you do need to be disciplined with to, you know, continue on that journey and become profitable at a much larger level. So, yeah, I suppose LutherFX, I believe your question was, you know, what is our focus point? And, you know, that kind of is for whether it's traders at an advanced level or at a beginner level, you know, to get them on the right path and right journey to becoming successful.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you've mentioned successful traders, right?
Yeah.
And I think you have really good experience in that, because you've even mentioned to me every successful trader has dealt with loss, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were really grateful. We got your mentorship back in 2020, and we've had our ups and downs too. Maybe you could share that story, that, you know, that 40K loss that we had dealt with that one day.
Oh yeah, that was back in 2020 with I believe Trump was speaking. I can't remember exactly what now. I think it was to do with agricultural goods at the time. And it was something, it wasn't in accordance to an actual setup that was there. It was something that, you know, you do get them opportunities within the market where they are at that moment, you can take them or not, you know. And it was something at a geopolitical level where we did see price. I believe it was the Dow Jones that we were trading, USD.
And it was super volatile.
Yeah, I think as soon as you started to speak, it was at around 24,000, dropped to 22 or something. I think I tried buying in at around 23 just to get a pullback.
I'm pretty sure we got into the same trade, and obviously your account size was up much bigger, so his lot size was much bigger. And you know, for me, it was like maybe like a $1,000, $2,000 loss, but your loss was a hefty chunk.
Yeah, I think it was around 40K. Yeah, it took a loss that day. I mean, hey, you do have losses in the market, and I mean, it was based off, you know, you do get these geopolitical events when someone is, for instance, speaking. You get a lot of heavy volatile price action movement, and it's, you know, that price action is just a reaction, and that reaction is going to get back. You know, it was something that we got into, and you know, it didn't turn out successful for us. Hey, the direction was right. It was just an early entry, and that we took a loss that day. But
but I think something I appreciated as well, like, sure, I was very new into this, right? So I handled that pretty poorly. But I still remember, like, I was done trading, and then the next day you give me a call and you're like, hey bro, I made it back. And I'm just like, what? Like, you know, obviously I think the emotional side of things really took a toll on me, but for you were pretty disciplined, and so you understood that, you know, losses are going to come, but you also knew that you'd win another day. And you know, when you were able to do that, I think that kind of showed me that I needed to approach things a different way, because especially for me and Devin trading at that time, like things just they weren't really like progressing for us. So I think that for us to make sure that we move forward in a way that we're able to really understand that, look, you're going to lose at times, but when that happens, that it's not the end of the day, it's not the end of the world, and that there will be a time where you're going to be able to, using the same strategies, be able to come out successful in that event.
So yeah, I think that day in particular was well out of the discipline rules for both of us.
Yeah.
we were having a laugh. I think we had a drink, if anything, that day. And it is. Don't get me wrong. I felt the loss as well. But it's important within trading, especially. It's that when you do trade, losses are there. They're inevitable. They're gonna happen, right? But when you have a structure that works, and a strategy, and a rule book of what you're doing, how you're doing it, there's nothing to be worried about in that essence. Like, yes, it was a loss. I mean, it's a big loss, and it's a big loss for me just as much as it would be for you, for instance. That feeling is the same, but how do I go about it is different in the essence, because I know that geopolitical trade, for instance, that I was getting into is not part of my normal day-to-day regime, right? So I know on a day-to-day basis what my targets are. Right? I don't work on whether it's 1 to 2 trades a week or 1 to 2 trades a day. I have a consistent methodology and strategy, what I use day to day within the markets. People may think it's crazy, but whether it's, I trade anywhere between 10 to 100 trades a day, so I'm a scalper, so for me, I know what it is I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So that emotional side of things, yeah, of course it does hurt to have lost that money. But the way I think of it as well is, it's the way I conceive it is that it's a house money, right? And if I've lost it, like, I can make it back again, right? That capital that I have, capitalized on, it's something that I'm going to utilize to only make more money, right? So whether it's 1,000, whether it's 40,000, I'm not at that time, that proportion, we could have held that trade. And it was something simple as, it could have gone 100 points more down, and it did reverse at that point. And we looked at it and we were like, should we jump back in? And I should have, but at that point for me, I'm not going to trade at a point where I have just taken that loss. I can come back tomorrow, live to fight another day,
reevaluate.
So because at that point, when it is a geopolitical event as heavy as that was at that time, we don't actually know what's going to happen. There's a set parameter of where we ideally think it could go before it does turn around. But we don't want to be caught in that wildfire, because there was things such as the pandemic going on, things were shutting down. It's just, I think it was early March or end of Feb when this was happening. So, what I would say is, like, it's important to just reevaluate, and go back the next day and work out what And, the great thing was that, okay, that opportunity didn't play out. It would have if we continued to stay within the trade. But, the next day there was another opportunity within the market. It wasn't it wasn't a revenge trade of any sort. It was just, my targets are completely different to what that loss was in essence. But, it was just, it felt great where the opportunities were there, and I took advantage of them, and that was made back. Do you know what I mean? And it's keeping that mindset that, oh, fuck, I've lost today, but I'm going to actually come back stronger, knowing that, okay, nothing wrong with my strategy. I just played out my rule book today. But you know what? Hey, mistakes happen. I'm going to come back tomorrow stronger, and I'm going to do what I do best. And it's knowing and believing what it is you do, and not trading with that emotion. Because the minute you let emotion come into trading, I feel that's where most problems start to
things can go sideways.
It's when you are trading and you do have a strategy of some sort. It's important to know that, believe it, and understand your structure, and have that self-belief as well. So when I do place trades, and people often say to me, hey, how the hell are you trading 100 trades a day? It makes no sense. And it's like, you can do that when there's no emotional factor within it, right? Because you know what you're trading for, what you're looking for, and how that works. For instance, like for me, my strategies are all about compounding. So that, I'd say, dealing with your emotions at that point, it's easy to say just shut them off, but it comes from a much deeper place of knowing what you actually are doing and how confident you are within your structure and what it is you do. Know, and knowledge is power. And I believe, if there's anything you have fear about, and where emotions get in the way, is because you have a lack of knowledge. And I like to keep myself up to date with knowledge. In my free time as well, I don't just trade 1 to 2 hours a day. I do utilize my whole time, whether it's Monday to Friday, even through the weekends. understanding what's going on economically, understanding what's happening within the charts. I'm always within tune with it. You know, you can't just get in and get out. It becomes a part of your life, and I'd say trading is a part of my life, you know, and if that's some journey you would want to go down, it has to become a part of you for it to become natural, you know?
Yeah. That's one of the things that I really like admire about just like your trading, just because even just you talking about trading, because if you see like these fake trading gurus, it's always, they'll always bring up money, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the last thing you want from a mentor, because if they're talking more about money than strategy and the knowledge that it takes to make the money, then they're really not that good, you know? They're probably not that credible. So even just like, I think me and Rohit have been the only ones that have talked about money, you know? He brought up the 40,000, I'm bringing up, he's making all this money, but really it takes a humble like mentor to really teach you what is necessary to actually make money and be profitable. You know, I could have talked about, this guy has an office in the Gherkin, you know, like this guy has a lot of stuff, but he never really talks about it, which is really admirable. You know, couldn't be me, you know.
that level of humbleness right there, yeah.
Yeah, but also, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. How could I forget Infinity AI, you know? This is like kind of a newer startup in LutherFX.
It's I'd say a sistering company to LutherFX. It's a project I've been working on for I'd say exactly 4 years now.
Yeah.
But just before I go into Infinity AI, you touched on being humble. I think it's important for the viewers, you know, that are watching to know that, you know, I think the minute you start to go into whether it's the materialistic side of things, you know, your perspective and vision kind of changes. You know, like it all becomes about that. It doesn't become about what you're doing as such. Do you know what I mean? So everything becomes about chasing that dream that you have to keep up with. You know, having the dream there is fantastic. You can have all the things you want. You know, the key goal is you guys should be focusing on, you know, is, you know, I think we went over that in your training as well. Like, what is it each and every day that you guys are working on? You know, how profitable are you? What is your percentage? You know, we don't have to talk about numbers. If we know we're making profitable trades, for instance. Right?
Talking in percentages instead of like actual money.
Yeah, talking percentages and money, because like, you know, that when it comes down to it, each and every individual has their goals.
Exactly.
And, you know, I think it's not adequate for me to go and tell you, you know, if you ask me personally, you want to know, I'm more than happy to share, but there's no point me telling you what my goals and, you know, ambitions are, because that's going to kind of somewhat, if you're weak in your mindset, it could play with what you want and how you want to get there. Yeah. And you come attached to some ideology of that's what you need to become because that's what this guy's doing. And it's important to stay back, focus on you, right? Because the minute you start to focus on you, you're achieving what you can do at your own pace and your own level.
Yeah.
And the minute you're, you know, looking at other individuals, you start to chase that and you want to become that. And I think that factor there really messes with your own mindset. And I think that's something to avoid, you know, and that keeping it humble, keeping it real allows you to not have to prove a point to someone.
Yeah.
You know?
Even in our previous podcast, I think it was called Idea to Execution. Yeah. Just talking about building your own company in general, we said you should never compare yourself to somebody else's journey. Because if I compared myself to you, I would never want to do this, man. I'd be like, what the heck? Because you're just so far ahead. You're basically halfway through the race. Well, I don't even know where you are, but I'm at the starting line, you know? So how can I compare my growth compared to yours, you know? So and I like that when you discussed making specific plans for your students, it's all based on who they are and what they want, you know? So like, just like we said before, it's individual based. Trading is individual based. What works for somebody might not work for you. So finding your real like niche within trading. Is
I think that's is very important because, you know, people are out there trying to create carbon copies of themselves.
Exactly.
You know, if I'm gonna try to go get your fade, it ain't gonna happen with me. You know, you got different hair type.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's important to understand who you are as an individual. Because the beauty of that is as well, like, I mean, hey, I've got great stuff to offer when it comes to my main mastery is within scalping. Do you know what I mean? So like swing trading is great. I utilize it, understand it well. I do utilize some strategies, whether it's short term, mid term, long term, but you know, my main focus is scalping, you know? So let's say that's not my real strength and I don't work on swing trading, for instance, but you're a swing trader. Yeah. You know, you're working alongside me. There's that little bit of an edge that you're going to have working within that we can both share with one another, you know, and become profitable together at that point. And that's where it's important to understand, like, what differentiates Luther from anyone else is that we focus on creating the best version of yourself. you know, so not trying to create a carbon copy of myself, for instance, or anyone else. It's making you the best version of you in that essence. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's definitely beneficial for obviously the individual. You don't want to have some sort of, or feel like you have to abide by somebody else's trading system, you know? If it doesn't work for them, it can't work for them, you know? So having that individual setup for everybody that you teach is really cool, you know? So after that, though, so we already know Luther's a hit, you know, got all that good education, but I see you've been posting about Infinity AI. Do you want to talk about that?
yeah, of course. So Infinity AI, guys, is an exciting project that I've been working on since 2019. Infinity AI is an absolute beast. It's an autonomous trading AI. It's gone through years of refinement, coding, some of the best developers, strategists to create a product that people were asking me, oh, we wish we could think like you or have your strategies and trade like you, for instance. Well, guys, I've made now an AI and created that through time to give you guys access to my brain, for instance, on how I trade at all times. So yeah, Infinity AI is a completely autonomous trading AI that I've created, and will soon be launching in the market for retail traders to use.
Cool, man.
Yeah, it's
So-
really exciting.
Yeah. So a lot of people, when they hear like AI, they might think like, oh, trading bot, expert advisor. What would you say like separates you from like all of those?
Or instantly, what separates us from the rest? We're not an EA. We're not a basic algo bot. You know, we're not a set of indicators that are used to parameterize markets and give you, you know, a trade and put it on your system autonomously. Our system has refined strategies, my mathematical formulas that are broken down from my strategies and entwines into the product. So the product has all of my strategies based within the product, whether it's from swing trading, scalping, long-term, short-term, mid-term, it is all in there. And that is, for instance, all of my strategies are within this system. And the beauty of the product is, and what differentiates it from any EA or bot, for instance, a bot or an EA is worked off a set of parameters and is constantly looking for that same thing to rinse and repeat. But the problem is with EAs, you know, they sometimes work and sometimes they don't. But the beauty of having the AI, what segregates us from the EAs and the bots and so on, for instance, it actually has AI incorporated into the actual product in respect of from our formulas. It works according to market conditions, moving averages, so on, etc. So it's not going to stop at one given time. It self-configurates. If it makes a loss on the system, it reanalyzes that loss, understands why. It autonomously makes a decision.
So it's always refining.
It's always
trading.
refining itself.
Wow.
Like, you know, it's constantly developing. So as well as my trading strategies, if something's working for me, it may no longer be working on the system, for instance. It'll configurate and understand what is working at the time. It'd pick up quicker than I would, right? So, for instance, that's what segregates my product from any of the bots or EAs out there. It's completely autonomous. It actually has AI. None of this jargon that's out there, you know. Everything's getting the name AI right now. So it's one, keeping up with the times, as well as, you know, people going more into the technology side of things, automation. But it's something, my baby, I like to call it, that I've been working on through the years and looking to bring out to the market and help traders.
Yeah, no, I definitely say that this is like revolutionary, especially in the markets right now. You know, this is really exciting, like we were saying, and I just want to know, like, how do you see this in development with your current company, Luther? Like, how do you see this going in the next few years?
I see it growing absolutely great. I mean, already a lot of our traders, and you guys as well, on the AI and utilizing the product as we speak. And, you know, the results have been phenomenal. It's, you know, 10x each individual's trading portfolio. If they were trading 1 to 2 times a week, they're now trading infinities, throwing out 100 to 1,000 trades a day. You know, and that was the purpose of creating this, you know, model, because, you know, as an individual, you can only watch and manage a handful of things. And the beauty is, Infinity, whilst you're looking at your setups, for instance, at a human interventional level, the AI is going and scanning through the markets and finding, you know, trades across the whole spectrum of what's out there, and it's bringing them to your attention. So when you are twiddling your thumbs, waiting for one of your, you know, setups to come into play, you know, Infinity's got your back. It's your PA, for instance, your personal assistant's bringing trades to you, saying, hey, Devin, hey, Roy, go and have a look at this opportunity.
It's like you're my personal assistant. You know?
So for instance, you've got me in access to you through my product, you know, at all times, and it's scanning, it's bringing you up opportunities that you can or cannot take. You know, according to you and your strategies, if it works with you, you can take the trade, and it's there to develop you and your trading portfolio.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's really cool. It's like a nuanced way of trading without having to be on the screen.
yeah.
Because, like you said, it refines the trades over time, so it's never gonna be stagnant in its growth for your win rate or whatever. It's always growing with you, you know. So that's pretty cool.
I still remember, like, not to cut you off, but
Yeah, go
the first time we actually applied it to our accounts. And
Oh yeah, I remember that.
we saw hundreds of trades open, and we're like, yo, how are we gonna close these? How are we gonna open them and manage them, whatever it is? But we just, you know, he said to trust him. We let it go, and that thing was just taking care of all these trades itself, executing them, closing them. And I like that you have it tweaked to such a way that we're able to alter depending on an individual's, you know, account size. So the lot sizes could be very minimal. They could be very large, depending on however your circumstances, how you want to, you know, go from there. But I still remember seeing that for the first time. I was like, damn, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like that before, you know?
I even remember while we were going through some training with him, we literally took a live trade based off the AI, and you told us the whole strategy. Obviously, it's your strategy, or partially your strategy, like, you know.
Yeah.
And it went perfect. Like,
You were so gassed when it went, too. You're like, yo, I know what I'm talking about.
So I was like, okay, this is like a pretty proven thing, you know. And then we just let it run, and obviously it was still winning more than it was losing, you know. Like, we don't obviously you're gonna say that everything is somewhat flawed. Like, the best trade in the world takes losses, like you said.
Of course.
But obviously, if your wins are more than your losses, then you're a profitable trader and you're making money. So it's all about that.
Yeah, 100%. And what I would say is the beauty of the trading AI. I still believe with AIs out there and so on, like, human intervention is important and it is needed, you know, and that's how we utilize the product. It's, you know, for instance, the autonomous trading is always happening.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is, for instance, if I see a trade that my AI is throwing out, like, that's going to be, you know, accessible to a lot of the public now coming soon. So that, for instance, let's say, you know, 10, 20 trades come out on the system within the hour. It's something that I can look at and be like, right, okay, I didn't see that. You know, and it's not a completely, I mean, I've been in this industry now for, I'd say, the last 7 to 8 years. Yeah. And, you know, there's certain pairs that I've never come across in my life. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's something that's crazy because the AI is bringing it to my attention. It's something I've never traded before. But what I did realize, and through creating this product as well, is that my strategies work across all instruments, right? The strategy doesn't change. It's just the instrument itself, its behaviors change and its moving average is different. But you can instantly adapt to that with your strategy, for instance. So that is what is utilized and incorporated within the AI for you to go and find, you know, opportunities across the spectrum and be, so you're not just waiting for your setups to come into play. You know, you're completely taking advantage of your time through the day. It's creating that thing that's been heavily saturated where people are saying, you know, trading, you trade 1 to 2 hours a day, but it's great. What are you doing with them other 8 or 9? Cool, freedom's great. But what are you doing to create, like, you know, long-term freedom? Your short-term, you'll be free, but, you know, it's, are you creating that long-term freedom for yourself? It's to utilize your time efficiently. You know, when we talk about institutional traders, they're not in and out of the markets within 1 or 2 hours. They're trading all day, you know. So how are we to, you know, bring that institutional level to a retail level? It's allowing that spectrum to come in and allow us to trade at that institutional level with maximize opportunities for you to capitalize on.
Yeah. So it sounds like basically you had a problem of like staying on the markets throughout the day, you know? So this really just serves as a second brain for you that just works nonstop.
Well, yeah, that's what it was essentially. So like initially when we were running our hedge fund, our wealth management firm, we had a fair few analysts that were constantly analyzing the markets based on my strategies, their own, bringing things to my attention, and it was great. I mean, we capitalized on a lot of trades, but the problem is that how do we monetize that and grow and expand where there's so many opportunities going out there in the markets that things are moving constantly. And it's, if I'm focusing on a swing trade at the minute, I'm analyzing that, there could be a scalp going on, you know, that I have time here, but there's a scalp going that I could go and take advantage of. It's not affecting anything I'm doing here. It's just, I can go take advantage of that. And like, how do I do that? Like, I can't be in 100 places at once. But the AI is such a unique tool now that allows that to happen. I can be scanning the, you know, markets at all time. It's like God's eye in the market, you know. It's, you are seeing every opportunity come to you, whatever Infinity picks up. And the beauty about Infinity as well is because it's always continuously self-configuring itself, it's only bringing the highest probable trades to your attention. It also has a set, so you guys obviously notice as well, with on the platform, you can see, you know, each chart has a different color, which lets you know if it's higher probable, you know, or if it's getting ready to come into position, or, you know, if this is a trade that you can just look at. For instance, it allows you to understand that, right, this is being executed, right? This is probable, this is not so probable, but can take a look if it, you know, matches your conditions. So, so there's so many parameters and things that are set, you know, I could talk all day about what is actually, you know, being gone into Infinity AI in terms of the development side of it. But essentially, it's a tool for you guys to utilize to expand your portfolio and to just, you know, create yourself into a beast of a trader, you know, to utilize your time and, you know, expand your portfolio.
And it works very well in confluence with your teachings in Luther, right?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. So it's, you know, with my students, for instance, that's where a lot of the inspiration came from as well, is that, you know, a lot of my students would say, you know, we wish we could sit with you and see how you're trading constantly and take some of the opportunities you're taking, you know, or trade like you, for instance. And that is brilliant, because now the AI utilizes you as an individual to see what I'm doing, an insight to how I trade and what I'm trading. And, you know, you can handpick whatever you like out of my book that looks good to you. You know, if it doesn't look good, don't take it. If it does look good, do take it. It's not a signaling process. It's not, oh, you know, jump in at this point and take profit here, stop loss here, right? Like, my strategies, as you guys know, are very different. So it's according to your strategy and your structure, right? You can actually take and capitalize on what works for you according to your structure. It's there bringing out opportunities constantly to you, as well as that it's autonomously trading.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
I have to ask, man, like, obviously, like, you know, this Infinity AI it just seems like such a big step, and it's especially implementing this now into the Forex market. What's your biggest goal, or what's your most what's the thing you're most looking forward to with LutherFX now that you've incorporated this into your company?
I would say that my biggest goal with this is to share a part of me to the public in terms of how I trade and what it is that people are missing out on. Like you guys talked about briefly, like, you know, the real stuff within the markets. Like, a lot of people regurgitate information.
Yeah.
People are trading based off of whatever theories people have created out there. And it's giving people access to actually utilize their time, and actually that are looking to get into a trading career, you know, and do this full time, is to actually understand that, you know what, there is a real opportunity within the market each and every moment. And it's being able to capitalize on that and, you know, turn every single trader out there into an absolute beast. And the beauty is that, you know, it's not everybody's going to be doing the same thing. People will be able to utilize whatever they want, how they want, based off of their structure and strategies. Because the beauty of the product is that all my strategies, when I talk about all of them, whether it's swing trading, you know, scalping and so on, etc., they're all incorporated into the system, and you'll be able to utilize what you like, however you like, you know, and it allows people to, you know, venture into a different avenue that they haven't tried, like a style of trading, for instance. So essentially it's to get out there and be the best. We believe we're the best. We know we're the best. You know, there's nothing out there like this. We're not a, you know, EA, a bot, like I mentioned. We haven't just turned up from around the block. We've had real testing go into this and refinement and so on, etc. We built track records, and we have been around for 4 years. So, like, yeah, dude, it's honestly something that, you know, we really are excited about. And yeah, that's the goal, to expand everybody's knowledge and expand everybody's account sizes by, you know, excelling their trading careers and becoming more profitable and taking advantage of the markets how they should be.
Yeah, no, this is really exciting, man.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, you're doing some great stuff, and it's nice to be on the other end of it, knowing you know, where you've come from and seeing it, being as we have that personal relationship. But you know, like we mentioned on our other podcast episodes, we like to show individuals credible people, and we could definitely agree on that what you have and what you've created is something we can see is real. We've tested it, we've seen it ourselves, so this is really exciting, man.
So, Samy, I mean, we've seen that you're already a successful businessman with these 2 businesses. Is there anything other in the future that, like any other venture that you're interested in pursuing or anything like that?
I believe right now, Infinity AI is the focus. I really do believe it'll change lives. I don't see nothing in comparison to this, nor do I believe anything can touch it for the amount of years that I've gone into developing. And just from the specialists I do know, nothing like this, you know, just comes overnight. It does take time, you know, testing, refinement, and so on, etc. So that's something we were very early on in the market, you know, fortunately. So that is the main focus, to take this to extreme heights. And I believe I do manifest success and good energy. So just like everything I've gone through in life, everything comes to me, and whichever opportunities come along the way, whichever ventures come up, I'm always down. So anyone with great ventures, ideas out there, shout me, hit me. I'm always looking to work and venture into different avenues. So yeah, dude, like main focus right now is infinity. So whatever comes along the way, I'm open to it.
Yeah.
So,
One question before Rohit. As of infinity, do you think it's a one of a kind thing?
I believe so, yes. I don't know anybody, I haven't seen anything out there that is like this.
Yeah.
I do believe it will change lives for the reasons I did mention. So it's out there to help you. It's your PA. It assists you and allows to gain confidence.
Yeah.
A lot of us struggle on finding something. We want to seek advice or get the right guidance. And you've got a AI that's giving guidance constantly. You're seeing what it's doing and you're able to see the results. If you're not taking part in the autonomous trading, you're able to see the results on our accounts that we've trialed each and every single day. So you can see that, right, this is working, this is happening. And you yourself can start to be, you start to adapt more confidence within your own being when you're seeing, right, okay, this is my structure. You can paper trade and see that each and every day, if you take 10 trades a day, how successful you would have been. So it's a great tool, to actually benefit everyone. So yeah, dude, I don't believe anything else was there out there like this.
Nice, man.
Nice, man. Yeah, so lastly, I guess the last question we could ask, is there anything you specifically wanted to let the audience know of?
Guys, definitely hit up Infinity AI on Instagram, Infinity AI _. Got great things coming. And for anyone out there that, genuinely is struggling on their trading journey and finding it hard to just touch base with themselves and find what works for them, reach out to us on Instagram. I know how difficult it is initially starting. And yeah, for anyone that's, needs refining on their strategies that are trading and are profitable and want to become better and get to that next level, but they've hit a brick wall, reach out. We're here to help at LutherFX _ on Instagram as well. So yeah, guys, pretty much it, yeah.
Sounds great, man. Thank you for coming again.
Likewise, thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's been great today.
Great first interview. Hopefully more to come as, Infinity progresses and Luther progresses. We're always down to talk about, business growth. So
Likewise.
Thank you again, man. I think that's...
Yeah, no, I think we definitely enjoyed this podcast. I feel like we got a lot of answers, and there's a lot that the audience will be able to learn.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So we really appreciate you coming out, especially, another long flight and all.
Yeah.
We definitely appreciate everything, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right.
So, we can end it off here. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, you guys. We really appreciate it. And just remember that you'll be able to catch up on his socials, on his Instagram, and any other that we drop in the description. And yeah, we'll see you next week on the next episode. Peace.